Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 816. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Sarah in Ottawa.
Yeah, for the first time since Sarah in Ottawa, I think for our 200th episode, you sent in some audio feedback because we requested it. And I think for some reason that is the only time we've ever had you on this podcast. And it's a shame that we have not had you on this podcast until now. So at long last, in this, the 1816th episode of Radio Free Skaro, welcome.
It feels like so much longer.
It is. Believe me, you record 816 of these things, and then I'll tell you how long, because I don't remember what it's like since before we made this podcast, Warren. I don't know about you.
No, I don't. I really don't. Or indeed last week, so maybe I'm a bad barometer of these things.
That's a good point. Anyway,
yeah, you guys don't actually remember the content of the episodes.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, God, no.
Well, here's the thing, though. As a reporter, somebody will tell me, that's a great story you wrote, and I'll be like, well, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because the minute you've written it and you've sent it off to somebody else to take care of, you've forgotten it.
Oh, I know.
On to the next thing.
It's funny when people, like, you know, some of you great listeners out there, like, feel the need to listen to every single episode. And so you go back, you think that this podcast is sequential, and maybe it is. Maybe you can see our gradual decline into the current state of humanity.
I like it. That was never even a question. It's just, yes, absolutely.
That is speaking to you now. And it's funny that, here we go. We're up to this point in the history, like 11 years ago. And I go, is that a fact? That's great. I wonder what we said there. I have no memory of these events. So yeah, it's a good time.
I've thought about going back and listening to them all, but that seems like a lot of work. That's like a third of my life.
It's a third.
It's
a third of our life. It's a third of our life. I've been doing. Yeah, Warren and I were like in our early 30s when we started this thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, when the universe was less than half its present
desiccated
size.
Skeletons, and here we are.
Anyway, we're happy to have you on board, Sarah. That's.
Well, I'm glad we can start on such a happy note.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not a stranger to the podcast world. I know you had a Star Trek podcast for a while, and now you're doing one on musicals. Are you doing one on musicals? Is that the one?
It's about whether something's camp or not. So we happen to be doing a lot about musicals.
Who'd have thought?
Whether it's camp or not. Wow, that's awesome. Actually, what kind of criteria do you have if it's going to be camp or not? And like what area of media are you focusing on?
We're doing everything. We've got a big old list. We've got radio, TV, books, but mostly we've done movies so far. The episode coming out today as we record is about wrestling, a WWE episode with the Muppets hosting. And then next week's episode is about Winnipeg's favorite movie, Phantom of the Paradise.
Was that shot in Winnipeg? I had no idea.
No, it is bizarrely popular in Winnipeg. Like, they've held festivals in Winnipeg for it.
This reminds me of, and Stephen, you'll like this, the fact that NHL 94, the best version of apparently the NHL game ever, Saskatchewan is full of champions. For whatever reason, Saskatchewan has people who are amazingly good at this game, this Genesis game.
Yeah, man,
it's another weird isolationist thing we do in Canada. I got a weird topic out of nowhere, and we get really good at it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was not expecting this level of Canadian. For some reason, it feels like, even though like Chris is also Canadian, but for some reason, I feel that now we've sort of spanned the nation a little bit. That we're encompassing more of Canada in this podcast. Even that, I was not expecting Winnipeg's favorite film to be mentioned on this podcast.
Take that, Guy Madden. You know what I'm talking about.
Wow. I again, on behalf of all of Canada, to all of you outside of Canada listening to this right now, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on right now. Wow.
So, I'm going to take this opportunity to be invited on your show to go off on a tangent. The Museum of History in Gatineau, just across the river, recently revealed that they have Mr. Dressup's house in storage.
Oh,
they don't
damn it.
put it out.
I've been there. It's a
What?
great museum, by the way.
Whoa.
But I did not see Mr. Dressup because it was, in storage.
In storage. The house,
Yes.
the set, the house of the set
Yes.
of, wow. Mr. Dressup, for everyone outside of Canada, was basically our version of Mr. Rogers. I never watched Mr. Rogers. I watched Mr. Dressup because I'm a Canadian kid. And so, like, Casey and Finnegan and the Tickle Trunk and, like, the song.
Yeah,
like,
everybody knows it. Everybody knows it instantly.
That's my generation. They have the whole set sitting there in storage.
So what we need is, I can't remember the exact name of it, but that movie about the two kids who live in the Met for the 70s, from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Something Something.
Easily Frank Lava.
Thank you. We need a version of that with two Canadian kids living on the set of Mr. Dressup. Current set in the present day, but they're in the Canadian Museum living on the set.
It's us. It's us, Warren. You and I are living on the set of Casey
That's
and
true.
Finnegan.
Not kids, but yes.
That and the last shot of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
Pushing this. I'm just so curious because obviously, the set would look very shoddy, but I want period-specific cameras from like 1978.
Oh, absolutely.
Also on set with lighting grids and everything.
This reminds me of the time I went down to what remains of the CBC Museum, which is basically a display case at the CBC headquarters in Toronto. Took a picture of a glorious old camera, sent it to Stephen, and I could hear his heart attack over the phone, over his text message.
Amazing.
Oh, what is this? This is glorious.
It was amazing. Yeah.
I was in Toronto recently, and I looked into visiting that, and it is mostly redone into a CBC Kids play stage.
Crying out loud!
They just keep ruining everything. Come on, CBC.
How are kids going to learn about old tube cams if they're climbing around in the plastic jungle gym? I ask.
This is important to know.
Vital stuff.
Know your history, children. The history that I specifically am interested in.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We got a lot of Canadiana in there. Where is our tax credit there, government of Canada? Whichever government it might be on tomorrow, being Monday as this episode comes out, given that it's an election time in Canada. Always fun. Always fun. Elections, very easygoing, relaxed places. But they're over in like 35 days. Unlike this podcast, which is already off the rails 10 minutes in. But this week on the podcast, Emily Cook returns to talk about Doctor Who magazine number 569, which might be the last Doctor Who magazine before the premiere of series 13 of Doctor Who. Because believe it or not, Doctor Who is coming back on the airwaves. Even though I'm beating the drum more and more these days about Doctor Who should not be aired at all. Yeah. It should be off the air.
We know.
I know. I just saw.
We're running out of 2021 though, so they better get an announcement out there soon.
Right, because I saw Lynn M. Thomas from Verity was complaining, like, it'd be easier to promote the show and talk about the show if we knew when the show was coming back on. And of course, they because it's Doctor Who is a ratings football that the BBC uses to try and offset ITV and stuff, as it has been doing since like 1968 or something like that. We never know when it's coming back, and this is a problem that only Doctor Who has now, because Doctor Who is the only show that just sort of like has to air first on a terrestrial TV channel and isn't just like put out on its own reconnaissance, so to speak, on a streaming service or something. So I'm just going to continue to beat the drum that I think in future seasons Doctor Who should air on HBO Max, where it's already airing anyway. Seasons 1 through 11 are on there right now, and 12 will eventually go there after 3 months on BBC America. That's where it should be. I don't know.
Well, good luck. Your windmill tilting will amount to nothing, I'm sure. But
I think it might happen. I mean, the infrastructure's already there. HBO Max is sort of looking for a show, probably, to sort of, or looking for more shows, I suppose, to sell their service on, and maybe Doctor Who is going to be one of them. I don't know.
Sarah, they should make BBC available to everyone. I want to pay a license fee.
Well, exactly. I would be more than happy to pay a license fee.
If there's a worldwide iPlayer, basically, that would be the way to go.
Which definitely doesn't exist right now.
No, it does not. You want $300 a year? Sure. Here it is, BBC. Thank you and good day.
Yeah, I would do that. So anyway, it's annoying because, we plan a podcast. We go, I wonder when Doctor Who's coming back for 6 weeks for the first time in like a year and a half. And We just don't know. We just don't know. But what we do know is that there is another video clue for the Doctor Who alternate reality game. Sarah, have you been following ARG? Oh, ARG, that's right. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day as this comes out too. So this is very fitting. ARG.
Is it? I had no idea.
I know it is. I had it on I've circled on my calendar every year. September 19th. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yar, that it be. Yar.
Is it September 19th, 2005? Is that what it is?
That sounds like I'm going to watch The Superb Owl after I'm done with Talk Like a Pirate Day.
I was following it very early on until we started getting all the clues in museums, and then I was mad that I couldn't take part.
Because you can't go to a museum in London, right? I know.
Yes, it's unfair to me specifically, and then I fell off. But yes, they have found the final now. The final one.
Is it final? Is it like there's?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't really. It's not. It's done.
So yes. What does it reveal? So
I believe that the YouTube video is it. That's the last one. The goal was to get the Doctor's reply, and that's it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
What
does she say?
Well, she says something about
I haven't paid attention to any of this.
Place. The link's in the show notes at radiofreeskaro.com. And then at the very end, though, when the Doctor Who logo pops up, there's like this little glitchy thing, and then we see the eye of a creature, and then we see the mouth of a creature, and then it ends.
It's the Ronnie, or Sarah, or Susan.
You're skipping over the part where she says kisses to Yaz.
She does say kisses. Think about that.
But the worst part is it was discovered from the source code of the website.
Is that the worst or the best? I kind of love it when people do that.
So yeah, nobody actually figured out all the clues. Because I have to say, when it first happened, I went into the source code of the website looking around and thinking, actually, I don't know what I'm looking for when it comes to looking at source codes of website. But I don't see a .mp4 file anywhere here.
If somebody wants to Kobayashi Maru this thing, I'm totally cool with it.
Well, someone did. So
I do love how big it was, but it didn't. I don't feel like we've really got. If this is indeed the conclusion, it's not a very satisfying conclusion.
No, it isn't. But hey, we have for the rest of us. There's probably another trailer coming, and indeed, maybe even a release date, which would be even better because then we would know when to start getting ready to watch Doctor Who. Because we like Doctor Who. I'm
guessing based on nothing. October, late October. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that is the rumor that I'm seeing too. Maybe the 31st potentially.
Just scheduling wise, it would make more sense to pace everything out up to Christmas.
Yeah, because there's going to be
whatever.
Oh yeah, New Year's Day special, but probably I'm betting Sunday, October 31st, might be the day. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. You heard it here first. You heard it on literally every single fan site and YouTube channel first.
Now this is the part where I go, but how big is? I've actually been in England for Halloween once. It was very cute.
Right.
But if you're going to put it out for children near tea time, isn't that at the same time that they're all going to be out of the house?
Now, Warren, you and I were there. In 2015,
but it was in November. It wasn't
we got there October 30th. We were there just in time to see and try to stay awake for the first episode of the Zygon invasion.
Failed.
Yeah, that was October 30th.
I don't remember seeing any Halloween stuff. I was in Hither Green, though. It's not a very fulsome neighborhood, from what I could tell.
I didn't honestly, when we got to Heathrow. This is so quaint. I'm sorry, English people. This is our first trip to the UK, and so we're basing the entire culture of Great Britain and Northern Ireland on our one trip to the UK in 2015.
Yep.
But I was there and saw Christmas trees in Heathrow Airport because there was no other holiday to look forward to at that point. So obviously they're just going to put like Christmas trees up 2.5 months in advance of Christmas. And so I didn't see any Halloween decorations at all. Obviously Guy Fawkes Day was on November the 5th, and we certainly saw fireworks for that. But yeah, Halloween was not a big presence in the UK. So
here's one thing I did like in the UK when well, there's plenty of things I liked in the UK, but one of them was you walk around not downtown London, but around London, there's ads for books, a whole lot more of them than there are here in Canada or the States. It's like there's just a lot more book love in England from what I could tell.
And plays.
Absolutely.
And plays too. Like,
Well, that part I tried to ignore, but yeah.
Some of them probably would be considered to be camp.
Absolutely. I went on a train to Cardiff and I went from, I don't know, Paddington or Victoria, something like that, and bought a book for the journey and a full-size W.H. Smith at the train station.
Oh, I know that one. There's one at there's one everywhere. There's one at Euston Station, a full-size W.H. Smith or something like that. Yeah. Books. They know. I just went to do you have any Lego here? Because they have Lego in Kohl's bookstores. They have in Chapters in Canada. They have a Lego section now to try and lure me in.
What's the Chapters? They asked in a polite but terse way.
Yeah. So anyway, it might be Halloween, folks, and I'm not sure it'll make any sense. But obviously it does. But based on our one visit to Great Britain in 2015 around Halloween.
And we're experts now, just remember that.
Yeah, we didn't see much. We saw Christmas decorations on Carnaby Street and no Halloween decorations. So if you celebrate Halloween, let us know in the UK, because I don't think you do. Yeah,
I saw a few little kids in costumes, but again, I was staying in Kensington. It's not really a residential area.
Right. Interesting. Well, as we sit and wait for new Doctor Who, we also sit and wait for the world to wise up and take some vaccines and get everything better. So for the pure reason, the solitary reason, so we can go to Gallifrey One 2022 unhindered. Gallifrey One 2022 will require vaccinations and or COVID-19 tests for 2022. Actually, maybe not for international travelers. I think we have to be completely vaccinated, which is fine because we all are here anyway, the three of us, and Chris too when he's not here. But yeah, that makes me very happy that such a thing is happening. I know that the hotel probably can't do that, but I bet you they probably will, because a lot of businesses in Southern California are sort of like leaning towards that anyway. But yeah, I feel a little bit safer now knowing that Gallifrey One in February will be a safe space. Whether or not it will be safe for people like us to go there is another story. But they're doing their best. I don't know. Your thoughts and feelings, folks. Yeah. What do you think?
Prayers. I hope everything works out. That's my thoughts on this matter.
Right.
We currently don't have to quarantine when we come back because we're double vaxxed.
Exactly.
That's true, yes. I'm mutant vaxxed. I'm AstraZeneca, so I have to probably get a booster shot, which I think is ridiculous, frankly. We're just as well as anything else.
Yeah.
That's America's fault, not Gallifrey One's. But
I'm mix and matched, and so are you, Stephen, right?
I am, but people like me are getting booster shots, and we'll probably get ours next week, probably, just out of, although more people are getting vaxxed now, thanks to the ridiculous not vaccine passport program that they finally put in here about 2 months too late. But yeah, no, I'll probably have a third dose coursing through my veins.
Yeah, I'll get a third dose, no problem, when it's available. It just hasn't come up yet in BC.
No, it is here. It's just once again, it's just difficult to look ahead that far. When you look at Edmonton Expo, for instance, which is going to happen this in a couple weekends from now, is been canceled because of all the uncertainty and everything else. It was easier to cancel.
Yeah, NAB, which I went to a couple years ago, is a huge deal for the post-production and production industry, and they canceled. They just canceled because they couldn't. A bunch of companies were pulling out, like big companies like Apple and Adobe and all these other guys. So Adobe is basically the anchor of the whole thing, and they're like, nope, we can't do it. And that's in Vegas, where they're loath to not do these things. So, we thought this is going to be done by now, and it is not. So here we are.
No, there's a lot of. I was just reading a review of the morning show, which is a show I don't watch, but
I did in fact watch the premiere. So.
Oh, really? Well, apparently it's set during the early days of COVID, as if perhaps when they were making this season of the morning show, they thought, "Hey, you know what? We'll be done with COVID, and we can sort of look back and laugh at it a little bit." And says, "No, we're not done."
I read a thing in the Hollywood Reporter about this. They were making it as they went, and as they went, it happened, and they're like, "Well, we can't ignore this. This whole show is about current events happening, and our cast's reaction to it." So they went back and seeded in bits and pieces, and I watched the first episode of the second season, and I agree with every every reviewer says this show is kind of full of BS, but it's enjoyable BS that I'm enjoying to watch. So yeah, so I can't. It's kind of like this car crash is entertaining to me. It's essentially what it is, and it's expensive. It's like two BMWs smashing into each other because it's Apple. so anyway, yeah, they kind of seed just the beginning of it with stuff about people are coughing here and there, and isn't 2020 going to be great? And it isn't. But they kind of worked backwards because they had, I think, halfway through is when everything started for them, and then they had to kind of. Which makes sense. Well, I'll let you know when weeks gone by how they actually pull it, if they pull it off or they don't.
Sure. I'm not sure how we got on that tangent, but we did. So anyway, I mean, they're doing their best. They're doing what they can. Gallifrey One and the LAX Marriott and indeed California are doing their best to make everything safe. 5 months ago, I didn't even have my first vaccine shot. Then I got both, and then everything got worse anyway. So I don't know where we'll be in 5 months. 5 months is a long time from now, and it's also a very short time. So I
just ask future President Donald Trump. I mean, 2022 President Donald Trump.
I thought we agreed.
Warren, why do you do this?
Why do you do this? Come on.
I don't know.
We're looking for
worst case scenario. Fry. That's my name.
Yeah.
Remember when we were getting our vaccine appointments and thought it was the beginning of the end?
Yeah.
And not the end of the beginning.
Happy days. That's totally what it was. It was the end of the beginning. Oh well. We'll get there. We'll get there, folks. Let's talk about happy things. Happy things. Galaxy 4 is being animated and coming to UK DVD and Blu-ray on November 15th. Not here, nowhere here yet in North America. Although it says that you can pre-order it in the US and in Australia, but never a mention of Canada.
Chumbly justice. That's what I'm calling this. Chumbly justice.
Yeah. So at this point, I think we're about 3 anime. Like we don't have Web of Fear. That doesn't even have a release date in this country. Evil of the Daleks actually is coming out November 16th in this country. And now we have Galaxy 4 to wait for. But they of course, the intriguing thing to this is that they're starting season 3 of Animations, which means you can probably expect to see the Mythmakers and probably a massive Daleks Master Plan reanimation project, because that's like probably 13 episodes if you include
I would order that.
Mission to the Unknown.
Mostly to annoy Ian Levine, but I still order
that. Because he's probably sitting on like his own fan animated Daleks Master Plan, just waiting.
Oh, of course he is. Which is all paper cuts.
Yeah. So that's intriguing. There's like commentaries on it. There's remastered clips and stuff. There's a making of documentary. Toby Haydock's all over that. He said so. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this, but of course, it's not. I don't know when it's gonna come. What's Sarah? What is your view on physical media? Do you collect these Doctor Who things?
I have not bought any new DVDs since the third last time I moved. I think the only ones I get now are gifts. Everything I watch is online. If I'm going to buy it, I'm going to buy it digitally, which I know is bad in the long run, but in the short run, it's easier.
It is easier.
I'm with you on that. I've gotten to the point where if something isn't on streaming, I'm like, well, if it's $15 on iTunes, I guess I'm buying it. And it's 4K. Thank you, and good day.
Yeah, I do that. You miss the VAM though. I wish the VAM was available more digitally.
Yeah, I do too.
I know. Deb from Verity complains about this often. Is that the value-added material is never available on iTunes or anywhere else. You can only get them.
I mean,
on
if
DVD.
You could do it for DVDs, which they did, then why not do it for? I guess maybe you got made more of a profit margin off DVDs, presumably. Otherwise, why do it?
Probably.
This is the thing that kills me. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was just going to say the other thing is they were competing with VHS at the time. So the way to get people to adapt to a whole new system is to go, and we've got all this extra stuff. And now they don't have to worry about that because what are you going to go to? Streaming, basically, or other streaming. Yeah,
which actually has less. Yeah. Sarah, you were saying.
Well, that's the thing. We're at the mercy of the streaming services for whatever they want to put up. Disney Plus, Disney has archives and archives of this behind-the-scenes stuff, and they're not putting any of it up. They have maybe 2 or 3 documentaries about animation up there, and this is my big nerd thing right now. I'm like, I want to see all the behind-the-scenes of the Imagineers and the animation department.
Sarah, you and I need to see the making of the black hole, if such a thing exists.
Yes. See, why can you watch the black hole and you can't see studio footage?
Right?
Why can't
I see hole?
Why can't I see Touchstone's own Dick Tracy on Disney Plus? For God's sake, they own it. It's perfect for streaming. Like, why is that not on there? It's just dumb. Unless Warren Beatty's got like the rights to it or something.
That's it.
Nonsense.
Yep. That is why. No, I have no idea why, but speaking of watching VAM, I'm this weekend. I have yet to see an actual shipment notification, and I'm getting mildly worried because we're recording this on Saturday morning, and my season 24 box set has yet to be actually shipped. It's supposed to arrive here on Tuesday. There's still time, but I have cleared my schedule for Tuesday to watch nothing but raw studio and location footage. 25 hours of it. 25 hours.
Stephen, come to bed. No. 25 hours.
I am not coming to bed. I am. I don't know. Like, it's going to be. I mean, I assume it's broken up. If it's all on one disc, which I'm assuming it's not, then that would be kind of tough. But I imagine it's sort of broken up per story. You know, in the time they're on a disc, here's all your extras, here's all your footage. So at least there's a natural breaking point. So like when 4 a.m. rolls over, and I've just watched, the 8th take of a Tet Trap trying to shoot a glitter gun all over Icona. Which is not a euphemism. Then
but should be.
I can go to bed at a reasonable and justifiable
Here's what
hour.
you do. You combine it with the soundtracks to Koyaanisqatsi, Pallasqatsi, and the other one, Bakara, I think, and just play a lot of Philip Glass music underneath all this.
No! Why would I do that? Because then I the chatter, the studio chatter is what I'm there for, Warren. I want to hear.
Just play it really low, so it just adds an extra layer of class.
No, you miss the nuances of a BBC television center studio.
I missed nothing, frankly.
You missed that. You miss the PA going around saying, "No, Sylvester, do it again this way. Can you be less idiotic, please?" No.
I'm getting fair, but
the word upstairs is.
I'm just trying to find ways that I would cope with such behavior, which I would never do in the first place.
No.
But were I to do it, this is how I would cope with it.
I celebrate it. I celebrate this behavior, Warren. It's very important.
Insane person. I'm just putting it out there. You're an insane person.
I'm a little bit insane. Other people worked so hard on making of documentaries for the Blu-ray set, and I'm literally going to the stuff which they did next to nothing to put together.
Exactly. They just hit record. Somebody like you or I, 40 odd years ago, whatever this was, hit record and then probably went home.
Yeah, it's a bit of an insult. I agree, but I appreciate it. I don't know if because I have told Russell Minton, who is in charge of the whole Blu-ray range, I have told him many times in the past that I genuinely
leave me alone. He said,
I genuinely appreciate the raw studio and location footage, and I don't know if the fact that there is 25 hours worth on this set is a direct result of me telling him this many times, including on this very podcast. If that is the direct reference,
it's an intervention.
He's like, here, we'll give it to you now. Okay, just
here's
shut
25
up
hours. Good luck.
The back 23 hours are just him looking at a camera. Stephen, stop it!
Stop it right now.
It's like Homer eating an infinite amount of donuts. .gif is basically
exactly. And at the end of it, after you've eaten your 100 slices of American cheese, you will be blind.
Yeah. Anyway,
and now Warren, I do have to point out that
yes.
Who's more fool, the fool or the fool who leads, who follows him?
That's fair.
Because you are, in fact, the one offering to create this sort of Dark Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz experience.
That's true. I am. Yes, I'm an enabler. I'm terrible.
Very much so. I blame you, Warren. I blame you for this.
That's fair. That's fair.
Our mutual interest in TV production is what brought us to this, basically.
Yeah, but I have a line I won't cross, and that's that line. So
it's all right. I'll send you the edited highlights, which is to say none, because it's all
14
highlights.
hours. 14 hours of you staring at it.
All a highlight.
Can I get a reaction video? You should put a reaction video on YouTube.
It's That's a good idea.
25 hours long.
Just me,
and it has to have a thumbnail with you making a stupid face.
Just an inset of me in the corner, just like, interesting. Me checking my phone for a little bit. Admittedly, I won't be staring completely at it, but if I miss something, I'll rewind it.
Going about your day, going to bed for 8 hours, coming back, it's still on.
Mm-hmm.
Studio footage gone wrong? Not clickbait.
Stephen totally destroys studio footage.
Wow. Anyway, that's coming out on Tuesday, hopefully, for me. And Galaxy 4, who knows? Who knows when it's coming out in Canada? But it's coming out in the UK in November 15th.
I am tempted to buy this DVD once again.
What?
Solely
Why?
based on the fact that I have a 3D printed Chumbly from one Jeff Fink. So I almost feel like I owe that Chumbly.
Right. Don't we all? You know who was in one of those Chumblies, Warren? Angela Muscat, who played the butler in The Prisoner.
Do tell.
I just told you. That was it. That was it. That's the whole story. Yeah. I think he is anyway. Is he one of them? I think he's one of the Chumblies. I think that's his only appearance in Doctor Who before his untimely death in like 1969, I think. Anyway.
Will I understand it if I haven't seen Galaxies 1 through 3?
No, you won't. It's very baffling.
That's a Bill Evanson joke. I want to give credit to Bill Evanson.
Yeah, well done.
Intensive continuity there.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, I mentioned before, Doctor Who Magazine, issue 569 is out now with the whole thing about John Bishop and all sorts of stuff. But please don't believe me. Listen to Emily Cook tell you about it.
Doctor Who Magazine Preview with Emily Cook.
After a month off, I'm joined by Doctor Who Magazine's Emily Cook to talk about Doctor Who Magazine issue number 569. Hello, Emily.
Hello. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. I'm glad you took a break. We all need to take a break from time to time, so I'm glad that you found the time to find
Just a little evening off.
Right. We
It's
all
a
need
rare
that.
occurrence, but we do all need it, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll mostly cover 569. But let's take a slight dip back because, you know, there was a big thing in 568 where Chris Tipple, basically outlined why he was leaving Doctor Who, you know, that big news that happened. So obviously that wasn't something you teased at the end of 567. So how is it when you're planning a magazine issue and then all of a sudden this happens? I mean, do you sort of have to scramble to make room for it, or do you sort of get an idea that he wants to put together a production notes for that issue?
I mean, you got to be on your toes in this game. The thing that I think when I'm thinking, it's stressful, we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what's going to be in the next issue, what's around the corner, I think it's a lot worse if you're working in newspapers where they have this every single day. They're constantly having to be on their toes. And I'm thinking, at least we only have this once a month. But yes, intermittently, Chris Chibnall would write production notes as previous showrunners have done. So it's not unusual to have that. And if I remember correctly, it was a little while ago now that we were putting that one together. But if I remember correctly, we were expecting production notes from him. And then, yes, of course, the announcement that both he and Jodie were leaving had come before we went to print. And then he elaborated on that in the production notes, which was a good space for him to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's the weird stage where we're sort of like, you know, looking to say goodbye to a whole era of Doctor Who and ramping up for a whole new season of Doctor Who. With an out of the first big Doctor Who related interview I think I can recall with John Bishop that you did with him asking him questions out of the TARDIS tin. Yes,
I love the Out of the TARDIS format. It's a really good way to get to know actors, people involved in Doctor Who. I just love the format, especially just at a time when we want to get to know them a little bit better. And so I had a lovely chat with John. We talked a little bit about his Doctor Who childhood memories, because everybody has them pretty much. This is the brilliant thing. Whoever you talk to, whoever you interview in the world of Doctor Who, even outside of the world of Doctor Who, but I'm normally interviewing Doctor Who people, everyone has some level of awareness of Doctor Who and some memory of it. And so it was great to chat with John about his memories of John Pertwee regenerating into Tom Baker, and how he was terrified by the Daleks, and talking a little bit about just how he's been settling in terms of being a part of the new series, which was great, but I haven't gone too much into depth in that yet. That's all to come. But the bulk of the interview is random TARDIS tin questions. So we find out all sorts, what his favourite pizza topping is, what his nickname was growing up, everything in between.
Yeah, to spoil one revelation, I'm a vegetarian. I didn't realize he's been a vegetarian for as long as he has been, like some 30 or 40 years or something like that. So
36 years. Yeah. I was impressed by that. I was very impressed. And he's attempting the vegan lifestyle now, but slips up. I'm just ruining this part of the interview now, but slips up sometimes on chocolate and pizza.
That's what keeps me coming back too. That's what keeps me from going vegan as well.
But no, I have to say, John was. I kind of feel that whenever someone's talking about someone that they've worked with or someone that they've interviewed and they're saying they were such a nice person, it just sounds a bit cliche, and everyone's going to say that. Of course, you're going to say that, and yeah, but it isn't just hot air. Like, John Bishop really was wonderful to talk to, and he's just genuinely warm and really, really is excited to be a part of Doctor Who. And based on others that I've interviewed about the series as well, who talk about John, just say that he's a delight to be there and is just loving the ride. So yeah, big up John Bishop. He is brilliant.
Yeah,
and very funny.
Admittedly, on this side of the Atlantic, his name doesn't carry as much weight as perhaps it does in the UK, and so we didn't really know much about him when he was announced.
Good point.
I was kind of looking forward to like just sort of a Doctor and Yaz team, and I think the first initial impression about John Bishop's character is like, do we need him? But ever since I've sort of heard him speak for the first time, there's a sort of like slightly laconic Liverpudlian drawl to his delivery that I'm quite enamored with, and so I kind of wish there was a podcast version of this Out of the TARDIS tin, because I want to hear him speak more about Doctor Who.
That would be amazing. He does have the best Liverpudlian accent ever. He is the pinnacle. But I know what you mean. I think there's definitely something to be said for, it'll be interesting to just see the Doctor and Yaz together, which incidentally you do in a story that is also in issue 569 by Joy Wilkinson.
Yes.
That's just the Doctor and Yaz. And I think there is something interesting about their dynamic as a pair. But also knowing what's to come from John Bishop in the series, he definitely does add something quite brilliant. So hopefully people will be excited about that.
Mm-hmm. He's a unique character, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he translates his personality into Doctor Who in the series to come. You mentioned the story Black Powder, the second part of which is in 569, an actual story, a short story written by Joy Wilkinson featuring the 13th Doctor and Yaz. It's kind of like the old Doctor Who annuals that used to sort of have, sort of illustrated stories, not comics, but illustrated stories in them. And we were both trying to remember, it's been a long time since Doctor Who magazine has sort of done this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not something Doctor Who magazine tends to do, really, publishing prose fiction in this way. But you're right, it is very reminiscent of the annuals. I'm immediately thinking of the ones that I had when I was growing up. And it is like that. The annuals had loads of those great stories. And I think this story is brilliant. It's beautifully illustrated. And Joy Wilkinson is not only very, very lovely, but just a brilliant, brilliant writer. And I think this is a really great story for the 13th Doctor and Yaz. So for anyone that is wanting adventures of the 13th Doctor and Yaz, Black Powder, DWM issue 569, part 2 actually, so you have to go back and read part 1 in 568. But it's a really wonderful story and such a lovely addition to the issue.
Mm-hmm. Also, what's been sort of happening over both issues is a missing episodes thing, both just sort of the talking about the missing episodes in general, but also getting reactions and memories from people who watched these episodes when they first were broadcast, which is a very interesting take to try. I mean, imagine someone asking you when you're like 55 or 60 about something that aired literally 50 years ago and having memories of it.
Being a Doctor Who fan is mad, isn't it, really, when you think about it? But no, I think we've done every other way of revisiting and re-experiencing missing episodes has already been done. This is our attempt at a new way of recreating missing episodes. But I think it's a really wonderful approach because Doctor Who magazine is the official magazine for the series and all of that, but it is the fans magazine as well. And so I love it when we do things like I love the letters page for this reason, because we get the voices of the fans and our readers, and this is just an extension of that, I suppose. People contributing to the magazine and just reminiscing about those episodes that they saw. And you're right, it was a long time ago, but actually those childhood memories that we have are really, really strong. And I don't know if this will be the case in 30, 40, 50 years time, but right now, even though it was 15, 16 years ago, I can pretty much recall everything about watching Rose for the first time and how I felt watching it. And so it's just incredible that when you are invested in something and you love it, you do retain and remember. So I think these fans that remember watching those missing episodes are a very valuable resource. I
know, yeah. Little did they realize that 50 years ago when they were watching it, we'd basically be relying on their memories to get an idea of what these things are like. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of lost memories, Collectivity is focusing on the BBC VHS releases. This hit a bit home for me because literally a couple weeks ago, I wanted to haul up my old VCR and my VHS tapes and a little conversion kit that I have and convert some old VHS tapes I have to digital. And I thought that I had all the years tapes, which was like the Doctor Who years summing up tapes that they put out in the 90s. I thought I still had them. Emily, I got rid of them at some point in the past. Which is very unlike me. And to see them all laid out there in order in this Collectivity feature in Doctor Who magazine was so.
Oh no, that's so painful. I mean, I love the Collectivity feature because it really does. A lot of stuff in it really hits home, you know, when you are a fan and you're a collector, and you can really see that those traits that you have in yourself in other people, and it's visually represented on the page in the words and the pictures. And I can't believe you got rid of them.
I know.
So only had a TARDIS.
I know.
Rectify that.
It's my own missing episodes thing. I think at the time I probably thought, you know what? Let's pass them on to the next generation of Doctor Who fans. But that doesn't, I never give anything away when it comes to Doctor Who. I still have the literal tape label from the original master tape from the Doctor Who TV movie from 1996 because I worked at the TV station that aired that. Why would I get rid of actual VHS episodes? It's a mystery.
A moment of weakness, perhaps.
Must have been. Must have been. So anyway, this is the public call to put out if anyone has the links that were recorded for that. I don't need the episodes anymore as much, of course. They've all come out on DVD, but...
yeah, just the links.
Just the links. Be precious.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Very sad. Anyway, also a friend of mine, Jeff Elston, is there. I didn't realize that there's a VHS double pack of The Crusade and the Space Museum that came out at some point, and he has one, and I didn't know that, so it was a surprise to see Jeff's face there. I usually see him at conventions when conventions were a thing, and there he was smiling and holding his double VHS pack.
There you go. DWM is a wealth of information.
It really is. Doctor Who Magazine, issue 569. It's in shops now. Emily Cook, once again, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Emily. Doctor Who Magazine, 569, which I have barely dipped into, even though I want to read more about the Doctor Who missing episodes. But yeah, we talked about it there. You two didn't hear, but the rest of you did, about how over the past couple issues, they've been talking to older fans who remember watching missing episodes back in the day on their original broadcast. And it's sad and tragic that those people are in their 60s at the very earliest, if they're going to remember
somebody
TV.
Whose 51st birthday is hurtling towards them in a few months hence. Don't talk about that anymore.
I know. But imagine if we were requiring you, Warren, now these 3 episodes of Mr. Dress Up are no longer in the archives.
Or the Forest Rangers. How about that? The Forest Rangers.
Yeah, we are relying on your memories when you were 8 years old watching it.
I don't know. Finnegan's mute and Casey's never going to move his hands apart. I was worried for him. Casey, are you okay? Your hands don't move. What's going on?
I know. Yeah. So you never know. You never know, folks, when your 50-year-old memories will be required in an article on a magazine. So remember everything. Some people years down the line think, remember, Stephen, did you watch those 25 hours of raw studio footage from season 24 of Doctor Who? And I'm going to be speaking when I'm 90. Yes, I remember that. It was excellent.
Let me tell you about these last 25 hours.
Yep.
Lost on a DVD that no longer functions.
Yep. Anyway.
Who are you again? Go on, get out of my room.
It's time now for our new regular feature, the Timelash, where we dip back in history and look at what aired or what happened. It's mostly just what aired because we're going off a calendar. This week in Doctor Who history, all those years ago. We kick off series 9 of Doctor Who.
Come on.
Started with The Magician's Apprentice 6 years ago on September 19th. I haven't watched.
Most enjoyable episode. Although I haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Like I'm trying.
That was the return of Missy, right? Like that was the first time since the Cybermen episodes.
So like literally a year prior. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I've lost track.
There were no episodes other than the Christmas special in between. Yes, Warren. After a one episode gap, Missy returned in The Magician's Apprentice.
Fair. but a long time, unless you're binging it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I remember liking that a lot because that was the start of like the full like the 2 seasons worth, like the 2-parters rather in each across the whole season for the most part.
Listen, Stephen Moffat loves to seed in nonsense, and he seeded in crab drones. He legitimized the crabs, so I'm cool with it.
I think this is one of the ones that I saw in theaters first. Did you guys watch this in the theater release?
Oh,
I did not.
It was in the theater, wasn't it? I'm trying to think.
I don't think I saw this in the theater. I think I saw the Christmas one in the theater, but not this.
Oh boy. I know at some point here in our part of the world they stopped doing them. And I can't remember when that time was.
It has to have been around this time, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever done anything for Jodie.
No, they did do, because I saw The Woman Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah.
So they did do that in the theater.
I feel like I remember thinking that they didn't do it for this one, but oh boy, 6 years is a long time ago, so I'm not entirely sure. It rings a bell though. Oh, I'm so confused. I know I saw the 2-part finale because they 3Dified it from Series 8. They put that in the theaters, and I remember seeing that. But now I don't remember if I saw Magician's Apprentice or which is familiar there or not. Yeah.
Now, with this memory, you're going to have to be taking notes on the studio footage.
Exactly.
Totally.
I just remember, which is familiar, that's the one where we discover Davros has eyes he hasn't used in millennia.
Yeah.
Which I'm both pleased with and mad at. I don't know where to go with that.
I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. By the way, next week is not going to be in person thanks to COVID wreaking havoc in this province. Yeah. I thought I should point that out.
Thank you very much, Jason Kenny.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. I'm just Apprentice. Started off probably my second. I don't know. I don't like ranking things as much because as things pile up, eventually you're going to have like a 13th favorite Doctor, and I don't want to do that. But the Series 8 and Series 9 Capaldi years.
I know which 13th favorite Doctor is mine.
I know you do. But I really adore Series 8 and 9. That's like my sweet spot when it comes to Doctor Who. Just edgy enough to be like really interesting, but also eccentric enough with Peter Capaldi there to be adorable. I don't know where you sit on this, Sarah. I know Warren speaks highly of Matt Spicera, as do I. But
I like Matt Spicera because it feels very retro to me. For some reason, I feel like you could have just taken that out of the 1970s, and except for the technology, it wouldn't have changed.
Interesting. What an interesting take. Matt Smith, 1970s Doctor, huh?
I just love what
it's the freshman album, right? It's the one that Stephen Moffat had planned out for the longest amount of time.
Yeah. Right. This is Sgt. Pepper's as opposed to Abbey Road, which are both excellent albums, but very different.
Yeah. Quite like Abbey Road.
My favorite is Eccleston, though, because he was my first.
Oh, you never forget your first, do you?
No.
Good old Eccleston.
I was telling Warren about this, actually. My friend Sam, who actually co-hosts Is It Camp, around 2007 handed me an external hard drive, and he was like, this has a show called Doctor Who on it, you might like it. And here I am
talking about it on a podcast,
arguing about 25 hours of studio footage.
Yeah,
exactly.
What hath he wrought?
What hath Time Heist, speaking of Series 8, aired September 20th 2014. the year prior. Yeah, it's fun. That's a fun episode. That's written by Stephen Thompson wrote that one, isn't it?
One thing that sticks out, and this is podcast specific, is I remember Chris complaining that the corridors were just different lighting, and I'm like, but that's Doctor Who. That's the entirety of Doctor Who. Why single this one out for that?
Why? It's almost an homage.
I've got bad news, Chris.
Yeah, it's an homage, if anything, making it the same. God, Star Wars.
Not to criticize with him not being here to defend himself.
I know. Yeah,
I'm sure I made the same argument when he was here, saying it in the first place. But
I think Doctor Who needs more heists. That's like the only heist episode that they've really properly done. And it
is full of Stephen Moffat tropes. Like, don't tell me a Stephen Thompson with a very stern horn-rimmed glasses lady in charge of things is not a Stephen Moffat story. Come on now.
Well, as we've concluded, Stephen Thompson does not exist.
No, he does not. He is what's her name who wrote Attack of the Cybermen.
Paula Moore and Stephen Moffat writing together.
They may be married. Paula Thompson, Stephen, or whatever. Paula Moore and Stephen Thompson are married.
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think Battlefield Episode 3 had 3.1 million viewers. It was one of the lowest rated episodes in Doctor Who history.
Million more than it needed. Anyway.
Yeah, aired on September 20th, 1989. So much so that the ratings are so bad in that last season of Doctor Who in the classic era that they had to put together a second press call halfway through the season to try and drum up some enthusiasm for the last season.
If you're thinking of my reaction to that, the ratings are so bad, it's just that picture of the cartoon with the guy that says sicko on him, saying, ha 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 ha, yes! That's me looking at those ratings.
Right. Yeah. What else?
You should reply, why do you hate beauty?
Right. Yeah. Mutos. The Power of Three, which was that Chris Chibnall's last story that he wrote for Doctor Who before he became showrunner in 2012?
Was it that or Dinosaurs on a Spaceship? Which one included which?
That was 2 weeks prior.
Okay. All right.
I want to think it is. I until I see an episode guide in front of me, I lose track of things in the modern series. But I think that was his last. I quite enjoy that episode, even with Stephen Burkoff.
Oh dear! Yes.
Completely torpedoing the entire episode, and thus, do you know the story about that, Sarah?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the story goes is that Stephen Burkoff, who plays the main villain apparently at the end of The Power of Three, was completely awful to work with and just deliberately played his lines badly and wouldn't even say them. And basically everything that you see of him on screen is almost stuff between takes.
Yeah, they're cutting around him, basically.
They're cutting around him because he was so terrible to everyone and to the entire process of making that TV show. And so they basically had to do reshoots where the Doctor solves everything by waving his sonic screwdriver around because they literally could do nothing because their main villain had been so uncooperative. So
give me that studio footage.
Yeah,
yes. I'd love to see that studio footage.
Yes, that's the raw
studio. The director tearing his hair out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna kill this guy.
In 2020,
you just want old cameras. I want gossip.
That would be.
You can have both. We can have both.
Oh man. When the Blu-ray set comes, because you know that the once they're done with the classic sets, they got to be working on the modern series, which will be 25 years old by the time they start putting those out, and we have to see some.
I was gonna say there wouldn't be studio footage, but also with digital shooting, you just let it run. So you might have theoretically a version of studio footage.
That's true. Oh, I want to see that. I want to see that. What else we got here? We're in the middle of a bunch of stories when it comes to the classic year. Like Destiny of the Daleks wraps up with probably 18 million viewers because ITV was on strike at that point, so everyone was watching Doctor Who because there was literally nothing else on.
We can put whatever we want on. Here's a bad Dalek story. Here you go.
Yep. Tomb of the Cybermen, which we all universally love, episode 4 of which aired on September 23rd. The Reboss Operation, which is very popular in this household. Wrapped up on the 23rd in 1978. The Smugglers, speaking of pirate talk, just missed Pirate Day by 5 days. The Smugglers Part 3 aired on September 24th, 1966.
Was Pirate Day a thing at the time? I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
Yeah. Closing time. The last time that we saw James Corden before he was unleashed upon the world.
The last time he was tolerable, because he's actually okay in both of these episodes. And then something happened, and he became some sort of a monster who
and now
stops
he's
traffic in LA.
Dressed up as a mouse, stopping traffic, demanding to be punched.
As I saw somebody say, "Is this why people hate theater kids?" And somebody replied, "Yes, it is."
He's the ultimate theater kid.
Oh, good God.
But you're right, he was good. He was good in closing time. And
He's fine in both of them.
Yeah.
If you guys have ever seen, well, it's a play.
Right.
So I don't know why I'm saying this.
No, but go on.
But he did a play called One Man, Two Governors, which is sort of a slapstick comedy. I think he won Olivier's for it in London, and then it got transferred to Broadway, and he won a Tony for it.
Really?
He's incredible in it. He's so good in it that it makes me almost forgive him for everything since.
Wow.
That's a lot.
If you like slapstick comedy like Noises Off, I can't recommend it enough.
Slapstick comedy, though.
Well, that's where I'm getting off the train.
Yeah. Where did you see that? Where did...
They played it at Cineplex. It was one of the National Theatre. Yeah, the English National Theatre will record shows and show them in Cineplex.
Really?
Yeah, even though I'm not a play guy, I think that's cool that they do that.
Yes, and it's incredible because you have the best seat in the house. I've seen a couple Shakespeare plays like that too.
Are you just reading a marketing script right there saying that you have the best seat in the house? Because that's what I would...
Are you in fact Taylor Zipchen, or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Yes, I am Taylor Zipchen. I've been being paid scene points this whole time.
Tanner Zipchen. Was not expecting that either. You're welcome, rest
Tanner
of the world.
Zipchen.
You're welcome.
Tanner Zipchen was praising my local cinema, my local independent cinema on Twitter the other day, and I said, I see the scene points we've run out.
Google it all. Google it all.
Good
People
all.
who aren't from Canada, which is probably most of you.
Yep. Hello, rest of the world. Anyway, that's about it. That's about it that happened in this week in history. In Doctor Who, in the Timelash, James Corden being tolerable at either end of his career.
That is a notable historical matter. James Corden being tolerable.
Yeah. Indeed. Speaking of Christopher Eccleston, your doctor, Sarah, he is coming back to Big Finish. Of course, he very famously recorded a whole series of series basically for Big Finish, all in one weekend that they're putting out in 4 different volumes over the course of this year. He has recorded more. The second Ninth Doctor series coming out in 22 and 23, totaling 12 adventures and 4 box sets. You must be very pleased if you indeed listen to audio, but the fact that Christopher Eccleston loved it so much that he's coming back for more.
You're a nerd!
That's right, he says that in the audio.
I have listened to the first box set, and I waited till that's at the very end. Mm-hmm. They make you wait for it, but it is quite the payoff.
That's cool. Anyway, I think it's great. I'm just very pleased that Eccleston is just happy with life now and with his position in the Doctor Who universe. That he, even though I think there's probably still some bristling between him and the BBC, the fact that he still cares so much about the character and stuff that he's doing these, I think is really cool. So good for him. I also saw that he was on a page of some tabloid sort of running. He was out jogging.
Yes, I saw this headline.
Right? I don't know what the Dr. Hugh or something like that, because he was jogging a lot. He's like 57, looks great.
Yeah, they said he's the same age as Hartnell was when he started, and he's like the Hulk in comparison.
Yeah.
Which is not really fair to Hartnell, because Hartnell had some underlying health conditions. He was born in 1900 dickety, so
1908, and like 57 is different in 1963 than it was in 2021. Yeah. So, yeah. So good news. Good job, Big Finish on not only A, putting more Eccleston stuff out there, but B, making him enjoy it so much that he wants to do it again, which is really cool. So yay. And of course, it's all because of my interview with him on stage at Gallifrey One.
Yeah, just like the whole HBO Max move, all because of you.
All because of me. All because the HBO Max move, the 25 hours of raw studio footage, and the Christopher Eccleston returns to Doctor Who.
And people say fans are selfish egomaniacs. How could they?
I don't know why they think that
about
one.
you.
I don't know why they think that.
I can only imagine if you had been born 20 or 30 years earlier, the letters you would have written.
Just like, oh, it's this guy again. All right, it's fine.
Yeah, there's a pretty old documentary at this point about Star Trek, and whoever's running, I think Brandon Baga, or was it Berman, one of the two guys.
Right.
And a guy kept sending them stories, and because you could submit a Star Trek script back in the day, and you can't do that now, obviously. But at the time, they were the only show that would take like freelance out of nowhere scripts, and so this guy would do a different one about crabs every week. They get a different script, and they all involve crabs for some reason. That's what I think of when I think of Steven writing letters.
He has a Superman prop he needs to get rid of, like the giant spider.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they probably gave that guy like, here, write a 3-episode arc for Star Trek Enterprise.
No.
Okay.
As far as I know, he did not.
Okay.
That was the line. The no crabs agenda.
All right. Also coming from Big Finish, the 11th Doctor Who Fourth Doctor 11th series. My God, Solo. It's just him and Nerys Hughes, which is technically not Solo. Just running around basically. Tom Baker finally on his own, as he's always wanted to be. Finally, 45 years after complaining that he shouldn't be on screen as a companion, he's Solo. Doctor Who Fourth Adventures.
I'm still baffled as to why they don't have the cabbage on his shoulder. Just to humor him. We can do it. It's audio. Why not do it?
I was thinking earlier.
Maybe they have. I don't know. I've heard all of them.
Because on a recent Verity podcast, I'm not even sure it's come out yet, but I've heard it. Kat was talking about how she adores K9, and it just made me trigger, wait a second, you know what? K9 is the talking cabbage. Because he doesn't sit on his shoulder, but he's basically just some random object that Tom Baker talks to. And gets
Put a cabbage on K9. This cabbage agenda must be fulfilled.
Right.
An offhand remark for the 1980s has to happen.
I think if
first they have to build a tiny cabbage saddle.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, that's glorious.
Tiny cabbage saddle
and a cowboy hat. He needs a cowboy hat.
Yeah. Sure, that sounds great. Get on it, fan art creators. Tiny cabbage in a saddle with a cowboy hat on the back of K9.
Yep. If I don't see this at Gallifrey One.
This sounds like something you could do on a dolly. I'm just saying.
I'd need a cabbage, but yes. And a K9 dolly.
Right.
And a saddle.
I think the brain of if there's a brain from the brain of Morbius would work as a cabbage in a pinch.
Yeah, I'd have to crack him open, though. I don't want to do that.
Oh, right. That's right. I thought it came out. I thought it might have fallen out. I thought it was the cliffhanger of episode 2 or 3 or something, Brain of Morbius, but no.
Yeah, I can pretty much order anything off Amazon. I'm pretty sure I can find a plastic cabbage on Amazon.
You don't want to get... I'm tipping my toes into miniatures and miniature building. You do not want to get into that. That way lies madness and a lot of money.
Okay, then maybe not. That sounds Warhammer level insane.
I think,
yeah, if you want to do Warhammer, then it's going to be even more expensive.
No, I don't need a second loan on my place. No, thank you very much.
Doesn't like Fisher Price or something have their little miniature kitchens or something? Maybe they have like a cabbage.
You have betrayed your age, my friend.
Fisher Price. Is there no Fisher Price anymore? Why not?
I don't think so. I don't think there is. Maybe there is, but it's all like baby stuff as opposed to the baby stuff when I was a kid. By the way, the Star Wars figures, and there's a thing in the toy. Okay, Sarah and I have complained about this over DMs, I believe, about the toys that made us and how they take a perfectly interesting subject and put a bunch of boing noises into it just to annoy you. But anyway, Star Wars figures, they used adventure people from Fisher Price figures as the base model for the Star Wars figures. And the guy who they interviewed, whoever the toy expert or technician was, had the temerity to slag off the adventure people. And I am here to tell you, sir, you are wrong. I had all the adventure people, and they are the greatest toys ever.
He was very upset about him. We hear this all the time. But
my adventure people jihad will never end.
No, it won't. Anyway, speaking of adventures, Fourth Doctor Adventures, Series 11 Solo, available to pre-order from BigFinish.com. Also out from Big Finish, or coming soon from Big Finish, Ruth Madeley joins Big Finish 6th Doctor Adventures in May 2022. I don't watch anything other than Doctor Who and The Sandbaggers, so I don't know who Ruth Madeley is, but she's been nominated for a BAFTA. She was in Years and Years, which I never watched, and apparently is horribly depressing. But she was pretty awesome in it. And she's coming to Big Finish, so hooray for that. Joining Colin Baker and Bonnie Langford. Sorry. Anyway.
I immediately thought because there's a guy called Pip Madeley who's very funny on Twitter and doing a bunch of Doctor Who shenanigans. Is she related or married to Pip Madeley? How is she related to this Twitter comedian, essentially?
There are very few British last names when you think about it.
It's true.
There's like 12 or maybe 14 last names in all of England, so you could make that case for a lot of people. But anyway, that's coming out. 2022 is coming out from Big Finish. Also, 11th and 12th Doctor impersonator Jacob Dubman is busy because the 12th Doctor Chronicles Timejacked is coming out in November of 2021, and the 11th Doctor Chronicles Volume 2. He's also Matt Smith. Very good at what he does, but they're not Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my problem with these, and it's entirely my problem, not Big Finishes. Whenever I see them, I'm like, they got him! No, they didn't.
No.
Every time they fool me.
Yeah, because he's on the cover. There's Peter Capaldi right there on the cover.
I finally got Matt Smith, and Matt Smith you'd think would be a little more likely because he's been out of the game for a while now, so he's probably more likely to jump back into Big Finish. But no,
I know,
and he'd be perfect in Big Finish. Well, I mean they all would, but
I'm curious.
He's busy doing the new Edgar Wright movie.
Oh,
he's in the new Game of Thrones prequel or whatever.
He is. I don't know what that sigh entails there. What
is that thirst or is it dread?
No, well, you know what? It's thirst adjacent. It's the fact that I'm going to have to watch this goddamn show.
I like the term thirst adjacent, by the way.
Right.
It's like me and every Gillian Anderson show. Sex Education might be good, but I don't really care. But Gillian Anderson's in it, so there's a lot to balance here.
Educating about sex. I mean, it's like that's like all right. That's your catnip right there. Haven't watched it.
No, I haven't either.
I haven't watched the Suicide Squad movie either. Suicide Squad movie because
I want to see Suicide Squad.
A Suicide Squad movie because Peter Capaldi's in it, but I don't want to sit through 2.5 hours of nonsense just to see Peter Capaldi in it for
and
6
he's
total
good
minutes.
in it.
Right.
But yeah, you're pretty much on the money. And also I was like, well, am I getting old? Because this is too violent. Like, I guess I am not getting old. Am old, and it is too violent.
Anyway, there's your selling point there, Big Finish. We just dumped all over you, and you can get this stuff coming out. Also out now for Big Finish is Torchwood Curios with Billis Bagger. He's out. We mentioned that it was coming. Now it's here. You can get it now from bigfinish.com. That's all the Big Finish stuff we have for this week. We close out with a couple of interesting things. There's a feature in Gizmodo on Rich Tipple. He been on this show back on episode 737 with Kieran Hyman talking about how they colorized episode 2 of the Daleks Master Plan, which I'll be watching tomorrow. I won't be watching the colorized version, but I'll be watching tomorrow night in my 3-year Doctor Who 1 episode a day marathon. They talked to Rich Tipple about colorizing old episodes of Doctor Who just for fun. There's a clip of the Dalek Invasion of Earth colorized. I saw one on Twitter of the ambush, I think, from episode 4 of the Daleks, also colorized. It's amazing. I don't know how people do it, Warren, they colorize black and white footage.
DaVinci Resolve is the short answer. I couldn't do it myself, frankly. It's not that easy. Otherwise, I'd be doing it. And it's not easy, so I don't.
No.
But I love that there's this kind of renaissance. And I think Doctor Who fans are specifically... Because you'd think Doctor Who fans, being who they are, they'd be like, how dare you sully the purity of the black and white? No, we've gotten these animations where you can flip between black and white and color. And so I think that has basically conditioned us to go, yeah, that's cool. Because I see it, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. That looks really like 70s Doctor Who, which I'm all for. So,
I know, and they even restore some of it too, because since the Daleks have come out on DVD, 2007, I think it was. Restoration techniques have improved since then too. So they've sort of restored it a little bit, and they've recolorized.
And there's just people doing it for fun, which is crazy.
I know this is what I love about Doctor Who, because there's these people that do these things for fun that eventually get, well, hey, you're doing them for fun. Why don't we pay you? Because it's actually quite good. Gav Rimal is now working on various things, parts of the DVD range as well. He's been doing Dalek animations for quite a while. I bet you Rich Tipple will probably find some colorization work ahead of him, perhaps when
if not with that, with something else. This will actually probably lead to professional stuff, I would think.
Yeah, well, and not just professional Doctor Who stuff either, but
no, that's what I mean. Other stuff in the industry.
Yeah. It's cool, I mean, obviously, I'm I am a purist in a way, but they're not replacing the black and white versions of these original episodes or anything. It's just an alternative, and it's just really cool because, you know, even though that's not what it looked like on screen, it certainly is what it looked like in the studio. And so you're getting a real impression of what stuff actually looked like.
I think this is good that we have Sarah on because she's considerably younger than we are. I think it's a generational thing too. I think we were there around for Ted Turner putting out sloppy looking garbage that didn't look anywhere close to what it should because they're using an Amiga.
That's even a bit old for me, but yes.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that was what colorization was for the longest time, and a bunch of film critics who had a way bigger pull rightfully railed against it, and you couldn't get the black and white versions. Today, it's completely different.
That's exactly it. Like, I remember my parents getting mad at Ted Turner, and we were watching, what was it, The African Queen? And I still don't remember if that was in black and white originally, but I think we were watching a colorized version of it, and they were just getting some, and you know, it's much lower quality than you see nowadays as well.
Exactly. I think Peter Jackson talked about this because he colorized all the black and white footage from the World War One, and he said, "Well, the thing is, colorization can look like crap or it can look great. It's just the amount of time and money you have to do it." And they had a lot of money, so that's why the stuff. And I think they sort of interpolated the frame so it looks like basically you're watching videotape of World War One. So done properly, and for the certain subjects, it's great. It's just Ted Turner was doing it as a cash grab. So basically, and keeping you from stuff that was shot, as the argument went at the time, people shot specifically for a black and white. So by blopping all this stuff over top of it, you're ruining it. With something as studio footage, you know, it's not quite the same thing lighting wise. So.
But meanwhile, they were putting everything into full screen at the same time.
Oh yeah, that too.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a cool article. Give it a read. Links in the show notes. RadioFreeScar.com. Rich Tipple does great work when it comes to recolorizing Doctor Who stuff. So that's cool. And last on the news, there's a new book coming out from Tony Cross. It's called Across Time and Space. It's Through the Unbound line, where it's kind of like they fundraise essentially on getting the book published and stuff. And it's a massive giant review of every episode, every story. I follow Tony Cross on Twitter for years now. He's often sort of been talking about his reviews of Doctor Who, and now they're finally in a book form. If you can support it, links in the show notes to fund this book. They're, I think, about a month out. I think it just launched this past week, but you can help support the book. It's already 12% funded already, so it's well on its way, hopefully to be funded. Links in the show notes for you to support Across Time and Space by Tony Cross on RadioFreeScaro.com. That's it. That's it for our wee podcast, Sarah. It's been lovely having you on the show for the first time ever, properly. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. Like I said, I can put the grudge away now.
That's true.
Knife de-sharpened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Where can we find? You're very funny on Twitter as Sour Citrus Lady. But where's the new podcast? Where can you find that?
So the podcast is called Is It Camp? Or I suppose there's an exclamation point and a question mark. So it's Is It Camp?
Right.
You can find it everywhere at Is It Camp Pod. We've got Instagram, we've got Twitter. We do not have Facebook, and I don't think we will anytime soon.
Right.
Good.
Very smart.
Yes.
And may I?
But I think we're releasing the 6th episode today.
Okay. May I point somewhere down the line that maybe you should check out Season 2, Episode 11 of Blake 7. It's called Gambit.
There's no question. Is it camp? It's a camp with several explanation points.
Because I would love to hear your take on.
I am adding it to the spreadsheet right now.
It is a sight to behold.
It is the most remarkable 50 minutes, I think, possibly ever created by BBC television from the 1970s. It's amazing. And it is indeed very camp. Anyway, that's it, folks. Thanks again for listening and supporting and doing all the things you do. We'll be back again next week at our separate locations again. Thank you very much, Alberta COVID response. Until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
We're in Vancouver.
And Sarah in Ottawa.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreescaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.